Hey everyone, and welcome back to the next chapter where we're going to do the eyebrows. So first things first, let's find the eyebrow scalp. There it is. Now we can hide the head, and well, first of all we got to create a descriptor for this guy. It looks kind of funny without the head, but anyway, yeah. Let's create a descriptor. So selecting the geometry, descriptions, create description. We're going to call this hair underscore brow. Same thing, placing and shaping guides, create. And that's it. So now what we can do is go up here and create place guide tool. Now, if you look at reference of eyebrows, here, let me just bring something up real quick. Okay, so back to my giant ref. Not a good one. Alright, let's look at this guy. Now, this guy's eyebrows are a little bit out of control, but basically, if you look at the directionality of the eyebrows, they kind of swoop down and in from the top. And at the bottom, so these ones are coming in this direction, and then these ones are coming up this direction, and then they end up making this kind of ridge in the middle, along the middle of the brow. Let's see if we've got another example of this. He's got kind of thin eyebrows. This guy's got pretty heavy eyebrows, but here we can only primarily see them coming down and across, but at the same time you will have ones coming up underneath. And you can kind of see this kind of ridge that it's creating here in the eyebrow itself. Let me try find some better reference. Let's go to faces, facial features, eyes. So this is more manicured style eyebrows, but let's see. Here we go. That one doesn't really help us. Neither does that one. See, the manicured eyebrow can be a bit different as well, so I want to look at very raw sort of reference for this. So let's, here we go, this is a good one. So, I ignore the creepy eyes, but basically, as I was saying, you've got the ones on the top coming across the top like this, and you've got the ones coming from underneath like this, and you end up getting, excuse me, a ridge coming across the eyebrow. So this is something that we're going to try and recreate with the giant. So I'll minimize that, and just after looking at that reference, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a few going across the top, and I'm going to create another few going across the bottom. So let's start off by doing the top. Now I'm going to put one here, one here, one here. It's a bit hard not to get close to the edge for the eyebrow, but you get the idea. Like, you just got to do what you got to do, really. And then one at the end. So that's the top. We'll do the same on this side. So we'll put one here, one here. I did only do one there yet. One here in the middle, and one here at the top of this apex, and then one here down at the end. Now what you could do is you could go ahead and groom these first before you place the secondary ones, but I'm just going to put in the secondary ones straight up. So might actually put these in between these ones just so we don't get as much crowding. But we'll put one here, one here, and one here. And once again, put one here, one here, and one here. Okay. Now I can hit Q on the keyboard to get rid of that tool. I can now hide the brow scalp and bring back the head. I'm going to shift this over onto the other screen. Okay, so here we go. actually, I'm going to minimize this one, open up the brow, select all the brow guides, and just do similar to what we've done in the past, setting the segments to 1, setting the curve count, let's just set it to probably 20 will be more than enough because these are quite short hairs. Let's do a rebuild of 10. Actually, a rebuild of 5 should be fine. Leave that as it was. And then length, I might try set it to 2. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I want this guy to have quite wispy eyebrows, so because he's a giant. So I want eyebrows which look similar to those first eyebrows we looked at, where they're quite long and wispy. Let's set the taper to 0.8. Set the taper start to 0.8. Now, typically, like eyelashes and eyebrow hair is slightly thicker than your head hair from the reference I've looked at. So the width on this hair is 0.02. So on these ones, I'm going to go 0.03. I might actually set it to 0.05 for now, but I'll come back and change this later. Density's okay for now, I think. Maybe let's set it to 2. Yeah, 2 might be better. And then preview, that was fine. All that's done. So I think we're pretty good. We can go through and do the actual grooming of the curves. So we'll start off by, well, hide the hairs just so they're not distracting. And we'll just start with this one. Bring it across. Whoop. And we got to remember that these ones were kind of coming down across the brow like this. So just quickly, once again, don't get too caught up with this stuff. Just quickly pop in your general direction. So you can see here we're gonna hopefully end up getting some sort of ridge across this. Until we get to the end here. Just looking at their profile, seeing like how much they're falling across the surface. Probably don't want it curving that much. But I definitely do, like if you look at eyebrows, they curve across the surface quite a bit. So I don't want them being too high, like this one, too far off. And then just making sure that my directionality is still how I want it to be. This one I might bring down even further. Alrighty, so that's one done. Now we'll go over to the other side. I'm going to put this on my other screen and we'll start tweaking these ones. So bring this guy down into the side, make sure the profile's working. Yep. Bring this guy down into the side. Once again, check the profile. Just looking at it from all angles just to make sure it's doing exactly what we want it to. Just quickly slapping these in. Down a bit more. Looks pretty good. And now these ones. Once again, like the less curves you have, I believe the more control you have and the better result you'll most likely get. Keep it simple, basically. Alright, let's see how this looks. And it obviously looks kind of weird due to us not adding any clumping or modifiers at this point, but already I can see some changes I can make. Alright. So the length of these hairs is the first thing that stands out to me. So I'm just going to select all these in the outliner. And I'm going to increase their size and refresh. Increase their size and refresh. Some of these might have been a bit extreme in their directionality, but sometimes it just takes you being able to see what's going on with the hair to make a decision. There we go, it's looking a bit better. There we go. This one's a bit too close, so I'm going to pull it back out and then redirect it. Not exactly what I wanted to do there. Try again. Okay, let's add some clumping. Might just change this one up. Alrighty, so let's go into modifiers. Now the same as the other ones. Actually, I might increase the density. Let's go to 3, and let's bring down the width to 0.03. Let's increase the density to 4. Okay, that's looking alright. So we'll go to modifiers, and we're going to create a low frequency. So setup maps, guide, save, and then grab this end one, the tip. We'll set that to let's see what 0.2 looks like. If you look at hairs in the eyebrows, you do tend to get a fair bit of clumping happening. So we'll have a bit of a play around with these. So we'll add another one. We'll set up maps. Let's try 0.1. So yeah, see how like 0.05 is what I was using on the scalp, but you can see that that is lower than the low frequency. So it's all dependent on which scalp you're working on. Like this one looks like it might even have to be 0.5 for mid-frequency. And we may not do a high frequency because their eyebrows, they're a lot smaller. So this is actually looking pretty good. We can always change it. And then we'll bring the amount of clumping at the tip up. Let's try 0.15. Now we'll add a cut. And we'll set that to 5. Might be a bit too much. Let's go 2.5. It's looking a bit better. Maybe if we increase the density to 5 now. Because like, just like all the other hairs on the body, the hairs in the brow have a tendency for falling out. So even if we have some short ones here, it's kind of just adds to the breakup. But I still think that might be a bit too high. Let's go 1.5. Let's try 1. Now let's try 2.5 again. I just want to see the difference. I think 2.5 might work pretty well for now. Let's add a noise. Set the frequency low. Set the magnitude higher. Now this is giving us pretty crazy eyebrows so far. Let's set it to 2.5. Let's set the frequency a bit higher. Let's go 0.5. All these decisions I'm making are just based on what I'm seeing and being like, oh yeah, we need more of this. right now I'm thinking, oh, we need some more length in these. So we'll go to primitives. Now we can just scale these up, or you can go to length. You can say 1.5 instead of scaling. And that's giving us a bit more of a believable sort of brow there. Let's hide the guides just so they're not putting us off. Now the shape that I did the scalp in is a little bit, I don't know, they got a bit too much of an arch to them, I think. So you got to be careful with that, because probably the worst part about this process that I'm showing you is if the original scalp that you created isn't quite what you were looking for. Although this guy is meant to be the big mean giant, not the big friendly giant, so giving him a bit more of an arch to the eyebrows does kind of give him more of a sinister look. But anyway, if you need to update the scalp, you got to go back and update it, and then I'm pretty sure you got to regenerate off that new scalp. I'm not sure if you can just like swap out your scalp. You may be able to do it here. I've never tried it before, so it might be able to be done, but not 100% sure. You might have to just redo it. But I find when you need to redo something, you'll do it twice as fast the second time and the result will be better. So I'm never afraid of redoing work if I need to. But I think this will be fine for now, for what we're trying to achieve here. So with the noise, I think the intensity here is too high. Although I do like how it's kind of throwing them out a bit. So let's go back to 2.5. Let's adjust how far along the route this noise will travel. Let's go to here, but then let's set frequency back to 0.1. I think that's giving us a bit more of a natural look. Yeah, I kind of like that actually. There we go. Now let's go back to clumping. I want to make them a bit more crazy, so by adjusting the clumping in this way, I should be able to get a bit more volume to the eyebrows. Let's go to clumping 2. Once again, all I'm doing is looking at the hair as my mouse moves over the graph and just waiting until it falls into a position which I'm happy with the look. Let's go back to 1. Okay, that'll do. Now let's add one more noise for the more stray hairs. This will be the exact same process as the other times I've shown it. Going into mask, load, samples, XGen, water, noise, smooth step. Then I'll go in here, increase contrast, increase frequency, bring up the lower bit, hit apply, accept. And now I can increase the magnitude a lot. Let's decrease the frequency to 0.05. Let's maybe put it at 0.1. And then let's lower the magnitude to 5. 10 might be okay though. So I want these kind of wispy runaways here. I might increase the amount by reducing the low. Now they're a bit too intense, I think. So the magnitude can come down to 5. Actually, let's leave it at 10. Bring down the frequency to 0.05. Didn't do anything. Set that back to 0.1. Bring the magnitude down to 5. Okay, so we can probably groom these guides a bit further. Let's make them visible again. Yeah, see how like this one's coming off a lot? Coming off the surface. So we can pull that one back in, hit accept, refresh. These ones are all working quite well. I might do an experiment where this one comes down more. Yeah, it's looking a bit more wiry, a bit more like that reference I just brought up before. Now we're not getting too much of a significant edge happening here. Another reason for that is the bigger ones actually seemed in the reference to be, oh, we're getting this thing where where I forgot to uncheck only primitives in view, and then that'll make sure they're always visible like this. Anyway, back to this. The ones on top seem to be longer than the ones on the bottom. So we'll select these top ones, scale them up a bit, refresh. Now we're getting this nice sort of wiry overhang happening. And like you can see that they're coming and meeting in the middle, but they are hanging off the surface a bit much. So let's bring them back in. Just run along here, bring these in. The smaller one can probably come up like this. Actually, no, I don't want to do that, because it should be creating this, it's coming in and then this one's coming down like that. Doesn't have enough curve to it, so I'll bring in a curve. And up. Bring this one in. And then, yeah, I'm just, once again, just tweaking the guides to get the look that I want to achieve. That's all it is. Just looking at reference, knowing what direction flow the hair needs to take. These two are quite similar, but I don't think that's too much of a big deal. Maybe this one can come over instead of under. So give it a over sort of look here, an over bend, and then see what that looks like. That's kind of cool actually. And now this one is opposing this one. Might actually, I kind of like it like this on this side though. Yeah, actually this one looks better now that I look at it. So I'll bring this one back down again, but have it kick up higher than the one below it. Make sure it's coming in close. Yeah, I think that's a bit better. Okay, just making sure their distance from the surface is okay. This one could probably come in. You get the idea though. Just adjusting these. Hide them again. Make sure my width, yeah, the width is good. The density looks pretty good. You don't want them to be too thick. Although, like, it depends on the character. Like, you can never say it can't be too thick. Like, 10 might work pretty well. That looks a bit too dense. 7.5. That might be the winner. Okay, but yeah, that's basically some eyebrows. Once again, like, I'd normally go along and continue tweaking this for a while. Until I get exactly what I'm looking for, and it'll just be much of what I'm already doing. You're not gonna, if I go ahead and work on this for another 30 minutes, you're not really gonna miss out on much. I'm literally doing the same thing over and over until I achieve the look that I'm looking for. Just trying to make this look as good as this one does here. It's a bit of a struggle. Let's pull this one out. Yeah, see, I was just about to wrap up there, but just can't help myself. I'll just try to get this one looking right, and then I'll go on to the next chapter. So we'll go up and down. Definitely adding some interest. Oh. Okay. It's not perfect, but I think that'll do for now. This one's definitely more successful than this one in my opinion, but doesn't really matter. I think I've gotten the point across. So on to the next chapter, and I'll quickly do some eyelashes.